I just got done talking about this. I was going to do this video the other day or yesterday, might have been yesterday, but anyways, but I just got done talking about it, so I was like, I'm ready to talk about it some more. so, um, I was just in a discussion, and I was talking. It was an all women panel. It was a woman host and women on the panel, and basically the question was, who sacrifices more in a relationship, men or women, right? And everybody knows, I mean, my take is going to be women. Um, and it's not even close. And it's like just rooted in logic and science and history and facts, right? Not how I feel personally. I'm a man, I'm a husband. I don't even, the funniest thing about this is, even as a man, I don't even want to sacrifice more than my wife. Like as a person, I'm saying, like, I don't want to be the one, I don't want either one of us to have to sacrifice to be in a relationship with one another. But I definitely don't want to have to sacrifice more than my wife, right? Like that's not, I mean, honestly, I don't want that to be the case. That's crazy. So I'm not like, I'm not like beholden to the idea that like women sacrifice more or whatever for any personal gain. I just know it to be true. It is objectively true. Look at the world, look at the numbers, look at everything that women do. Women sacrifice more. They sacrifice more of their time. They sacrifice their hobbies. They sacrifice their bodies for children. Their bodies are sacrificed. Even if they don't sacrifice them, their health is sacrificed by being in relationships with men. Women who are in relationships with men have more autoimmune diseases, more likely to have it. Women are greatly impacted by marriage. Marriage isn't all bad for women. Relationships aren't all bad for women. There are good things about relationships and there are bad things. But I believe that in most cases, the cons outweigh the pros for women. So for me, just looking at it from that perspective, it seems like, objectively speaking, women sacrifice more than women. Women sacrifice more than men, right? I, for the life of me, though, when you have this conversation, even with the people I was having a conversation with, they were defending men, and because it was somewhat personal, because one of the women on the panel said that she feels like her husband sacrifices for her. Um, that they were going out of their way to defend this woman and defend this woman's relationship. The host and this woman knew each other off the app, apparently. So the host was defending the woman who came up there and said that she feels like her husband sacrifices for her. She described the way she sacrifices for her husband, which was this. She said she had kids. They had kids, but she birthed them. She ended up staying home with the child and not going to work. We all know that tale, right? So she recognized that was a sacrifice. And she was talking about like the profession that her and her husband want to get into or something like that. Something like that. She was basically, it sounded like they needed to like get some type of like education or, something needed to happen before they got into this field, right? And she was saying that basically that took a back seat to her having a child. Happens every day. That is a major sacrifice that most women make in their lifetimes, right? So she goes on to elaborate how her husband one day will sacrifice for her and her family because he'll have to move his schedule around to accommodate taking care of his kids. And I'm listening to that and I was like, that's not a sacrifice. So I spoke up and I was like, that doesn't sound like he's sacrificing anything. It sounds like you're the only one sacrificing. Everything that you described to me thus far sounds like you're the one sacrificing. Do y'all know that the people in the live, like even like it was three women up there. The three women started to defend that woman's husband. And then a couple women in the comments did. But most of everybody else in the comments were like, no, he's right. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And people, somebody was trying to say, like, people were saying, like, I was trying to break up their relationship. And I was like, so you think that a random guy on TikTok who just heard 2 minutes into this woman's life, all I did was take what she gave me and gave an assessment. If that is enough to break up a marriage, then the marriage probably shouldn't be together to begin with. My marriage can take the scrutiny from anybody. Anybody can scrutinize my marriage. Anybody can. Like you guys can come in. I'll let you. I talk about my marriage all the time. You can scrutinize everything that I'm saying. That's a part. Like I offer it up to you. I don't say it and then don't think you're going to scrutinize me. I know you're going to scrutinize me. I expect it, right? So if you say something, I have the right to scrutinize it. You brought your life into it. I have the right to be like, well, I don't agree with that. And that's all I did. It was so odd. And it's because of the spaces that I'm in. I will acknowledge that. I'm not used to seeing women defend men in that way. It kind of threw me for a loop. I ain't gonna hold you. I was a little like taken aback by it. Like, I was like, what the hell is this? But it was funny because again, in the comments, people was clocking it. This one woman said, I wish I screenshotted it. She said, the way we coddle men is crazy. And I was like, yeah, like this is crazy how this woman put her life on the line to have the child, then put her livelihood on the line to take care of the child. And we up here comparing one day in the future, the guy, the husband may sacrifice for her. And I said that as well. I said, this is not me saying he's not going to sacrifice for her, but he may very well not end up following through because a lot of men don't end up following through on that promise to do anything for that woman in the future. They may be divorced by then. So his sacrifice hasn't happened. Her sacrifice is currently happening, and she will continue to sacrifice. She's already sacrificed more. He'll never catch up with her sacrifice because even if he, in 4 or 5 years, when she goes back to work, even if he starts to sacrifice as much as her at that time, what about the prior 4 or 5 years that she sacrificed? Remove having the baby. Remove that, right? Eliminate that from the scenario. She's already been sacrificing for 5 or 6 years. And that's all I was saying. I was like, in real time, you're proving the point. Men don't sacrifice as much as women. I don't think most women sacrifice at all. And lastly, I said taking care of your family is not a sacrifice for as a man. Because another thing that the host tried to say is she said that men sacrifice with their provisions. And I was like, I've never in my life, never in my long-legged black-ass life as a man, have I ever felt for one day that me going to work and giving my wife my whole paycheck so she could pay all the bills and make sure everybody got food and clothes and our car payment is paid and all of that stuff. I've never in my long-legged life ever felt like I was sacrificing. Never. My 14-year marriage, my 18-year relationship, my 13 years having children, I've never for one day in my life have ever felt like I've sacrificed for them. Maybe I have. I'm not even saying I haven't. I'm just saying I've never felt like I've sacrificed for them. I haven't. What? I stopped drinking? That's not a sacrifice. I stopped drinking a decade ago, 11 years ago, or whatever it was, 10 years ago. Because I never wanted my kids to see me inebriated. And I always felt like it was weird. There's no judgment, no shade, no tea to anybody else. But that I have children, I always felt like I needed to have my full cognizance, my full mental capacity. Right? I always felt like, because anything can happen at any given time with children, I just always felt like I don't want to be like, I can't drive to the hospital, I can't react, I can't respond, to my children, right? So I was like, I'm not going to drink anymore. Like when I thought about that way before, because I've always known or believed that I was going to have children. I always known or believed I was going to get married since I was a little kid. I've always thought that, right? So when it came time, when I had children and they were, I was like, yeah, cool, I'm just going to stop drinking. And I stopped drinking. And I haven't drank since. I was quit cold turkey. I haven't drank since. That is not a sacrifice because I benefit from that. How is it a sacrifice? I didn't give up anything. Not doing crack anymore, not destroying your body is not a sacrifice for anybody. I won in that exchange. Even if I did it for my kids, right? I'm still winning in that exchange. So no, I don't feel like I've sacrificed fucking anything for my kids. They are my kids. They didn't ask to be here. I need to provide for them. That's the reality. My wife doesn't have to be here. She can leave me whenever she wants to. I don't have to have a wife. I can leave her whenever I want to. I signed up to take care of them. I signed up to contribute. That is like, like that's what I feel like. I'm talking about the social contract that I signed with my wife, with my family, was to take care of them. I don't feel like I'm sacrificing shit because I benefit from having my family. I benefit as a man from having my family. I'm happier, I'm healthier, I'm more content, I make more money. I benefit from having my family. Who knows? I've thought about that so many times. Where would I be without my wife? Where would I be without my kids right now? I don't know. Maybe I would be somebody, maybe I would be something decent in the world. I don't know. I have no idea. I doubt I would be anywhere near where I'm at right now, though. Highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. So I don't have to sacrifice shit. And that's me as a man. I'm speaking as a man, and I'm speaking for what I see, what men consider to be sacrifices. I don't think men sacrifice jack fucking shit. And I think women inherently have to sacrifice to be in a relationship with a man. Just to be in close proximity to a man takes sacrifice. So just that alone is a sacrifice. Yeah, she signed up for it, but just to be in proximity, close proximity to a man, that is a sacrifice for a woman. That's what I'm saying. She's giving up her safety. That is what the woman is giving up. If anybody is wondering, how is that a sacrifice? She is giving up her safety. She no longer is in control of her safety. Once she gets into a relationship with the man, once she goes to bed next to a man and closes her eyes next to a man, and she allows a man to enter her with no condom on, and like she is giving up her safety to that man. When a woman allows a man like that woman that I was talking about previously, when she allows that man to go to work and provide, quote unquote, for the family while she takes a backseat economically and financially, that is a sacrifice she is making. She is sacrificing her livelihood for her family. That is a sacrifice. She gave up something. She gave up something. Yes, I only see women sacrificing in relationships. I never see men sacrificing. And I'm not even being hyperbolic. I'm not saying men don't sacrifice. I'm not saying no man sacrifice. I'm saying I don't ever see it personally. I never see the sacrifices men make in relationships. I only see the sacrifices women make. And comparatively, even if a man sacrifices, he never sacrifices his safety. He never sacrifices his livelihood. He never sacrifices his health. Never. So what is he giving up? Watching football on Sundays? Somebody in the comments of that, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say before I get on to the video. Somebody in the comments of that video said, men sacrifice a lot to be monogamous with a woman. Boy, shut the fuck up. Of course it was a man. So when I talk about women sacrificing, and I'm saying like, obviously there's data to support this, right? I just talk about how much more labor that women do in the home than men and things of that nature. That's a real sacrifice. That is a sacrifice that I can see, that's tangible, that we can substantiate, right? Like I said, when we talk about men, I can't think of any way that men sacrifice for women, so in a substantial way, where it can be quantified in any real way, right? I don't think sacrifices should be like a perspective. It shouldn't be like an opinion. It should be like a real thing. It should be something. I'm not saying like necessarily a physical thing, but it should be a real thing that is clearly defined. Like, yep, I'm giving up this so I can get that. I'm losing this. I'm not overall even benefiting from the, you know what I'm saying? Because if I'm overall benefiting, then I'm not sacrificing. To me, I'm saying it's at best, you would consider to be a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain, but then you would have to continue the thought and talk about the long-term gain with it as well. I'm talking about things that you lose, that you never get back for the betterment of the group, for the betterment of the whole, whatever, for the unit or whatever the case may be. Again, I only see women making these sacrifices. I don't see men making them, right? This is a prime example of what I'm talking about. And shout out to my girl, Bourbon Bougie. She did this. If you guys haven't followed her, follow her over on TikTok and on YouTube. But this is a great analysis that she did. Great analysis.
Housework and time parenting are major topics that come up consistently in these social media discussions. It is a major contention within relationships where women are getting tired of shouldering the majority of the work. So that's why this article that came out from NBC is very appropriate for the sake of conversation. It says U.S. men are contributing to household work more than ever. New data shows a recent bump in the amount of domestic work men do. Okay, let's get into this article for discussion. It says men in the U.S. are spending a record high amount of time on household activities, though inequalities between men's and women's contribution persists. An NBC News analysis of the new Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows. Men spend an average of 100 minutes per day in 2024 doing household activities such as laundry and cleaning, an increase of 20 minutes from 2003, and the most of any time in the years captured in the American Time Use Survey. So like I said, these are the numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It has been tracking things since 2005. And anyone with a working brain knows that women do more within the household.
When you just look at this part of the graph and the chart right here, it if you look at the blue line and look at the red line is women, the blue line is men. So even though men are doing better than we ever have, look how far away men still are from women. And I don't care. And the thing about this, to me, the thing about this chart is this. I don't care if you're the sole provider. I don't care if you are the breadwinner. I don't care because let's remove your family from the situation. You would still have to cook and clean and do all of that stuff. Just because you make listen, let me put it another way. So you guys mean to tell me that, let's say I'm going to go high. I like to go high with these numbers so that we leave no doubt. Let's say you make you gross $150,000 a year, right? You're a man, you gross $150,000 a year, and I'm going to pick the state you live in. I'm going to say you live in, has to be somewhere because it's different in different places. The equivalent, look, you make the equivalent of $150,000 wherever, right? Like whatever that is. You don't even make $150,000 in Texas because $150,000 in California looks completely different than $150,000 in Texas. So I'm talking about buying power wise. The same 100, whatever it looks like in Texas, if it's 120 in Texas, you know what I'm saying? If it's 130 in Massachusetts, if it's 160 in Kentucky, whatever it is, I'm just saying the equivalent of $150,000 wherever you're at. Let's say you make that money, right, as a man. I'm not gonna ask the question. I'm gonna tell you, you cannot afford somebody who is going to be a personal assistant, be your therapist, be your in-home nanny for your children, clean your house every day or every other day or whatever the case may be, even once a week. Prepare the majority of your meals, not only for you, but for your children. Do your grocery shopping, do the planning for the home, do all the logistics for the home. So making sure that the light bills are paid, the phone bill is paid, the Wi-Fi is paid, that the curtains get fixed, that all these things, right? Like you cannot afford on $150,000 salary, you cannot afford a person to do those jobs for you, and you definitely can't pay for a team of people to do that. You don't make enough money, right? But if you make $150,000, you can afford to have a stay-at-home wife, stay-at-home mom, whatever you want to call it, right? You do. Not the way that I would want to do it, but you do, right? A lot of people, if they made $150,000, they would not. A lot of men would be like, no, babe, you can stay home. That's enough money I can provide, yada, 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 right? But that stay-at-home wife or mother does all of those things to you. I didn't even get to sleeping with you, nurturing you. I didn't even get to all the extra shit. I'm just talking about the things that we can fucking quantify, the things that we can track. You can't afford that. So what does that mean? Even if you made $150,000, you would still have to cook and clean and pay your own bills and do the upkeep for your home and the planning for your home and go grocery shop. You would have to do all of those things yourself. So you mean to tell me for the low price of $150,000 a year, you get to have all of those things plus a sex worker, plus a nanny, plus for $150,000 on $150,000 salary. And you're sitting here telling me that, oh, because I go to work every day or I make the majority of the money, that's why these lines look so different. Get the fuck out of here. Absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely not. That's not why. The reason why is because men are jealous, even though they want, in their mind, they want a stay-at-home wife. They're jealous of stay-at-home wives, so they put everything on their plate. Men are lazy. Men are controlling, and that is why they make their woman do so much more work. And men are entitled. So you're not like that. Those are the reasons. You're not doing this because these things aren't this way because it makes sense on paper because men work 10 more hours a week than women or whatever the case may be outside of the home. That has absolutely nothing to do with inside the home. And I'm going to tell you one last thing. If your job is taking you that like this much away from contributing to your home, you need to quit the fucking job. You need to find a different job. You guys need to work it out a different way. This is what's leading to divorces right here. This is it. If y'all want to know like what's like at its core, like what's really getting to this, it's this.
And do more parenting. And that has been, like I said, because I've been in these social media streets. This is one of the major contentions in relationships right now. Women asking, begging, cajoling men to do more, clean up after themselves, clean up, take on some of these household duties. In 2005, it looks like, 80 minutes, men were doing 80 minutes of household chores and women were doing nearly 140 minutes. For women, that number is still at 140 minutes. So what is that? 2 hours and 20 minutes. Whereas men went from 1 hour and 20 minutes to 140 minutes is 1 hour and 40 minutes. So the men are contributing a little bit more. And these things, I do believe that these are probably self-reports. So I don't know if men are saying that they are, doing things and not doing them, but this is what the numbers say. All right, let's get back into the article. It says, but the gap is closing slowly. In 2003, the first year of the survey, women worked an hour more than men on the home. In 2024, women worked 40 minutes more. At this rate, housework will be equal sometime around the year 2066. 2066. I have to laugh at that. That's why I put LOL. The additional work for men is most apparent in food preparation and cleanup. Men spent an average of 16 minutes per day cooking in 2003. The value has since jumped to 28 minutes. So the next graph that we're about to see is men's time spent on core housework per day. Here's the graph. This blue line is food preparation and cleanup. The green line is interior cleaning, and the yellow line is laundry. They said F that laundry. You know what? I can understand about the laundry. Laundry is the bane of my existence. It's like never ending. Oh my God. So I completely understand. But over here in 2003, it looks like they did about 4 minutes worth of laundry. In 2024, they did about 5 minutes. Whoops, I clicked myself out. So they did about 5 minutes worth of laundry in 2024. Now, this is what they were saying. It looks like men are doing more with food preparation and cleanup because it went from 15 minutes a day to, what is that, about 28 minutes a day. So good on them. They are actually fixing themselves and maybe other people a sandwich and maybe cleaning off the counter. Good for them. Now here's the interior cleaning, maybe picking up the clothes off the ground and putting them into the baskets or whatnot, maybe wiping down a toilet. They are spending about 15 minutes a day on that. The survey, which each year asks thousands of Americans 15 and older how they spent their past 24 hours, is designed to develop a nationally representative estimate of how people spend their time. Sociologists have said the growth in men's household work may indicate broader progress towards gender equality. In a recent study, scholars used the 2003 to 2023 time use data to analyze changes in men's and women's daily housework. Cooking, along with other routine and frequent tasks such as house cleaning and laundry, is referred to as core housework, which has traditionally been seen as feminine. The shift in men's work, largely concentrated in cooking and cleaning, has been particularly pronounced since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Men's daily household contribution hits all-time high. Men are spending an average of 20 minutes a day on household activities than they did 2 decades ago. So 20 whole more minutes. So that's like a TV series show, like a sitcom without the commercials or ad breaks. That is how much more time that they are now spending working within the house. Good for them. And if you look here on the colors, this is what they are spending time on. And like literally, this is what we all spend time on: food and preparation, interior cleaning, laundry, household management, lawn and garden care, other maintenance, repair, and decoration. So you can see the graphs and how much time they are spending on each of those things. Melissa Milkey, a professor of sociology at the University of Toronto and the author of the study, explained why men are doing more. It's a possibility that this is just a cultural change. Men are expected to do more. They feel that they should do more, and they're sort of stepping up, which is a pretty neat thing to see. The pandemic seemed to push men in an important way, and it seems to have stuck. Now, that is what Melissa Milkey says. The fact that she thinks that men are doing it because they think that they should do more, that's really giving them the benefit of the doubt. I have seen where women have begged, nagged, whined, cried, like trying to make men do more within the household. And this is one of the main reasons why I'm seeing such contention in relationships. So maybe men are doing it simply because, like, literally they don't want to lose the women in their lives, or they have lost women in their lives. So now they have to start cleaning up after themselves. I think maybe it's somewhere in between the two of these, but women are like I've seen women in my comment section that says, I'm just not doing it for him anymore. I'm just going to clean up for myself. I'm going to clean up for the kids, but I am not cleaning up after him anymore. And it's making them have no choice but to do some of these things for themselves. We are at a time where women are saying, no, I am not going to sit up here and be your servant simply because you are a man. So now men are having to do these things. It is hilarious because when you see a man talk about what he expects from a woman, they say things like, I just want peace. I just want somebody that's going to cook and clean. They think that having a relationship means that they get a wife appliance or a girlfriend appliance, which is basically a servant/caretaker. But women are saying no. And the numbers are saying that men have to do some of these adulting things for themselves. And I'm here for it. Whatever the reason is, it needs to continue to tick up. Men need to do more in their households on a daily basis, and we need to stop genderizing household chores. Caretaking is not because you have a uterus. Cleaning the counter off should not be because you have a uterus. Unless you are using your genitals for anything in particular, these should not be gendered activities. It should
That's facts. That's facts. Hold on.
be because you are an able-bodied adult in the home and you need to take care of your space.
Yes. I don't want to cut her off. I didn't see she had a little bit more left, but everything. That's it. And that's basically why and how women sacrifice more than men. That is a great example of how women actually sacrifice more than men. You can see it on a chart. You can see how self-reported, by the way. So the men are saying this. They're admitting they don't do as much work as the women. That's not even to say that they would say that, but I'm saying by their own estimation, they're not doing as much as the women are. They're not sacrificing as much as women are. Women sacrifice more than men do. They sacrifice their time. They sacrifice their energy. They sacrifice their focus. They sacrifice their bodies. There's no gain. There's no benefit. There's really not. Like what they're giving, if they're not getting it back, it's not being reciprocated. So it is a sacrifice. Whenever men give anything, we expect to get something back. We demand it actually, and we do. We don't give without the expectation of getting. Women give without any expectation of getting, i.e., sacrifice, right?